Proverbs 18:13 says it straight. Answering before listening is foolishness. In a world full of noise, debates, and division, we choose something greater. Unity in Christ. Together we'll listen, we'll grow, and we'll sharpen one another. One church, one faith, one mission. This is the Proverbs 18:13 podcast.
I want to welcome everyone to today's Proverbs 18:13 podcast. We are joined today by Dr. Paul Gosselin, who's a gentleman that I became friends with. I met him as like another individual through Coach Dave Live and Past Assault Ministries. Dr. Paul, would you please introduce yourself to everybody and tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Paul. Middle name's Gabriel, and last name is Gosselin. 64, so I've been around the block a bit. Come from a large Catholic family, for better or for worse. There were 11 of us. One of my brothers was murdered not too long ago. It was a rough upbringing, and I thank God for every bit of that rough upbringing. Right? There's a lot of it was punishing, right? And I was kind of a wild kid, and thank God for that. And it's funny, you were talking about something about when you were younger too. And, I went to an all-boys Catholic school, and you can imagine what happened there. So I was 14 and 15, and priest got a little too familiar with me, started grooming me and stuff like that. I got kind of tired of it because he started to get increasingly disgusting. So I brought a gun to school. This is 1976. I'll never forget it. And it was the end of my sophomore year. And the gun was actually there. I had it there because back in those days, it wasn't, taboo to have a gun at an all-boys school. I mean, this was the old days, and everybody had a gun. Of course, I was going to school in New York. Things have drastically changed. And I brandished my gun and I ran into the woods for a couple days and to make sure he didn't come after me, right? But he saw the gun in my hand, and he got the hint. And so I got sent home. But, it's funny because during that period of time, I was a kid, and I was real sick because of all the what he was doing mentally and everything. And I remember going to a doctor and telling him what he was doing, the doctor, and he didn't balk. He didn't say anything. He just let it happen and send me back because I was having a lot of stomach issues. And at that point, I just realized, I'm like you. I would never let that happen in my practice. And I got in a lot of trouble for reporting pedophile doctors in the state of Maine, mind you. That's another story altogether. But yeah, so what does the Bible say about us? We're all rebellious, right? Rebellious for the right reasons, rebellious for the wrong reasons. I've turned that rebellion for the right reasons because I was rebellious against everything when I was a kid, but it was more about survival. But anyway, I went in the military because I got expelled from school, as you would imagine, and I didn't have much options. And after I was a medic in the military, corpsman, and some crap happened there, and I ended up only spending 5 years in, and I was homeless for 3 years at the time when I decided I was going to be a doc. And so it wasn't easy. I had gone to an all-black school in North Carolina Central. I went to Duke University for a while. I went to a junior college in Mississippi. You had to start somewhere, right? I got the grade and eventually got into med school. And I thought, wow, it was actually quite easy after I finally got in. It was kind of a joke. And then in my second year, this was the one time that I thought to myself, what the hell's going on here? Because if anybody doesn't understand how medical schools are run, they're run by Rockefeller, right? They've been run by Rockefeller since they started medical schools. And in doing so, he devised a narrative around drugs, petroleum-style drugs for every disease. And the other thing he did was he pushed his agenda for killing babies, right? Abortion, murder, baby murder. And they told me I had to go to that class. And they had a day and a half long class just devoted to abortion. I told them to go screw themselves. They said I couldn't graduate. And I says, okay, well, we'll see how that goes. And then I realized that the other 99 kids in my class didn't balk. They went to the class. It was like I was in a different world. I mean, when did healthcare become about killing innocent babies? And then if you look at the numbers, it's millions and millions. It's 2.5 billion babies have been killed since 1973 in the world. And you're going to tell me that has anything to do with health? Not to mention the transgender, not to mention just the simple fact that medicine itself is the third leading cause of death and morbidity in this country. After cancer, after heart disease, after diabetes, it's mistakes, it's drug errors, it's doctors hiding behind that skirt in the hospital after they screw up a patient, and everything is held silent. They got lots of attorneys in those hospitals, and I guarantee you it's one of the most demonic places I've ever been. And, being the kind of person I was when I was in training, I threw a couple of them up against the wall when I was in residency. That didn't go over well. But I have a hard time tolerating people that are basically just don't give a damn about the people they're treating, because it's all about status. That's what medicine is for the most part. It's about money and status. And I just realized I was in a profession that I wasn't going to be able to do a lot of good the way it was set up. So I was always in trouble with the medical boards. And it just is what it is. But Coach invited me on in 2020 because I was the first physician in the country to be emergently suspended over COVID. And I was writing letters for people in Maine, nurses, doctors, respiratory therapists, who didn't want to get the COVID shot. Plus, I was treating COVID in my office. As it turns out, one of two doctors in the state of Maine that was doing that, Dr. Nass, who was part of Kennedy's group, Robert Kennedy. And she was another one, and she's in a different world than I am. She's very well off, very smart, went to all the right Ivy League schools and all that stuff. But she's awesome, She may not necessarily be a Christian, but sometimes I wonder if that even matters these days, I'm sure at some point she realizes God exists, but it's been a fun ride, but it took 8 months for me to get my license back. And I don't have a lot of money, right? I don't have kids, but I was married, taking care of kids before for 18 years. Well, I guess the point is that I'm in a different position. I can lose everything, and I won't be hurting my family because I don't really have one. But that puts me in a dangerous position for everybody else because I'm not afraid to do whatever it takes. And we were talking about how I was just shot in the street by a 12-gauge shotgun by a cop in New York. And it was interesting that you were a previous peace officer. And I've been fighting that since July of 24. One of the cops, who's quite the coward, claimed I had a gun. He said he saw it several times over a period of about an hour, and the next thing you know, I have 30 cops around me, and I'm peacefully talking to one of the constables, and he comes up with a 12-gauge slug and shoots me while I'm in my car talking. And that's all on my web page. A friend of mine created that. Won't get too much into it, but
What's your website for everybody?
it's justiceforpaul.com. Just one word, justiceforpaul.com. It's as well done as my friend could do it. He's kind of a tech nerd, so it could be a little bit complicated. But it's interesting. It's also on YouTube, that kind of stuff. But people, once you're a Christian, they don't really care about you. You're a white Christian, but if you're some criminal going after ICE, and you do something stupid, you get nailed. And I mean, I ended up being tortured. I literally was tortured in jail after they shot me. It was pretty brutal. But you know what? I'm glad I can use my arm. I'm glad I survived it. But I'm working on getting my license back again because, of course, they believe the cops. They said that I tried to do something that I didn't do, because that's what happens when they find out they did something wrong. And it's like you said, many of them are Masons. And I think that's an important point, because they do things behind a veil of deceit and take blood oaths and so forth. But, I got drawn into the Masons for a while. And I didn't know what they were. But they tried to initiate me, and then they ended up doing something crazy, and I got out of it right away. But we make a lot of mistakes in life, and we hope they're not mistakes that we're not able to come back from. But anyway, what I'm doing today is kind of talking about medicine and any questions that my friend Adam here might have about his health issues. And for everybody else, I mean, it's a lot of people put doctors on a pedestal like they put lawyers on a pedestal, or politicians. And the more power, the more the titles that you have, don't confuse that with anything but authority. And authority has absolutely nothing to do with about being an expert. Believe me, it's forced on us. You're kind of hazy right now, Adam. Your video is kind of hazy.
Yeah, yours is a little hazy on my side, but from my past experience with using the software that I use, that's on their end. By the time the video gets processed, it should be clear.
Yeah,
it should come out clear.
I don't know how personal you want to get into it, your own health issues, but if you have any questions, I'll be glad to go over it. Because everybody knows the old COVID routine. By now, they figured out that 80% of the country had COVID vaccines, or you can call them vaccines, but you're not, but they're basically poison. And the other 20% are, still hanging out there. Pretty glad they didn't get the shot. But, when I was shot by the 12 gauge, I had 18 units of blood, tainted blood, and they threw that in me to keep me alive. And for whatever reason, I'm not a sickly person, but I'm 64. I try to work out despite the injuries that I got, and I eat reasonably well, and I do a lot of fasting. And I think that's a big thing for all of us Christians to look into. For anybody that says, oh, I would never be able to fast for this and that. Remember, the longest fast was well over a year. I know that's hard to believe, but it is the world working fast, and it was a very large man who had a lot of weight to lose, and that is energy. and under a doctor's tutelage, he lost, hundreds and hundreds of pounds. But you definitely feel a lot better when you eliminate the processed foods and the processed sugars and the stuff that tastes good, like Doritos and Burger King and Taco Bell. That convenience will kill you quicker than hell. And it's hard. It's hard for all of us, especially when we're hungry. But there are ways to do it. And I'll tell you what, when I completely ignored what I was taught in medical school, and I started going down my rabbit holes of health and learning about the real metabolic systems and so forth, including treating cancers and so forth, my life became easy because it all makes perfect sense once you figure out the keys to it. And you know what? For the people that are out there that have, 8 medications, some 10, some 15, 5, whatever, there's absolutely no way to determine what one medication is doing to the other once you start adding medications after medications. And then you realize that some of them are just plain money makers, like statins, right? And, proton pump inhibitors for your gut. That's another medication people need to stay away from, because that destroys your bones, destroys your health, your nutrition. Because the truth is, God made the perfect being, and doctors have figured a way to destroy that enough, so they make an awful lot of money off of you. And that is the darndest truth that I come out of my mouth, because that's all it is about, folks. It's all it is about.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions for you.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm on quite a few meds, actually, and right now I'm in the process of looking for a functional medicine doctor. You actually sent me a bunch of names and phone numbers and addresses of some of them, so I'm in the process of getting in contact with them now to find out which ones are willing to take me off of some of them and try to go more like I guess it's called the natural path or a homeopathic route. Because
functional medicine. Yeah.
So can you explain to everybody, I actually have 2 questions for you because you started answering one of them. Because one of my questions was about cholesterol medicine and about cholesterol in general. And so what should your cholesterol be? And if you don't want to go on cholesterol medicine, what would you recommend as a substitute for a statin, like simvastatin or something like that? Which, by the way, I'm on. And I started taking fish oil with it.
Yeah, and this is one of them. This is cod liver oil by Nordique, right? And I don't have a problem with cholesterol, by the way. Or you could take salmon oil by Nordique, Nordic. And I don't sell this stuff. I just know the better products. It took a lot of research to figure that out. But I recommend it for every single human being, regardless of if you're you have a problem with your cholesterol. And so one of the things about cholesterol, and there's probably, countless books written out there about statins, right? And at this point, they do absolutely nothing, right? But when I was in residency training, it was one of those taboos not to put somebody on a statin that had a little bit of an elevation, or anybody that had a heart issue, right? They all had to be on statins. And if you looked at the time, you realized that was the number one money maker of the meds at the time. So that's what was driving it, right? I think after this show, people will start to understand that. And so I would just be very careful, because statins they destroy your mitochondria, is basically what they do, right? And you get weak. It causes dementia, okay? Because you need cholesterol for everything, right? You need it. Vitamin D is structured cholesterol, right? So you need that. If you have too small a cholesterol, too low, and they don't have lows. When doctor talks, he never talks about too low. But the fact is, if they're too low, you won't live long. You need that. That's part of every cell in your body. It's part of testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, cortisol. It's necessary for so many things. It's unbelievable. But the problem is the tiny little particles of cholesterol that cause the problem, because they don't in itself indicate a problem, but they're an indication of inflammation from the liver. And that's the key. It's the key to diabetes. It's the key to most inflammatory diseases. For a lot of us who have a big belly, if you have a big belly, but you don't have a lot of fat anywhere else, that is adiposity or fat around your organs. And your body does not like that. Okay, your organs don't. Your liver hates that. If a liver could hate anything, and you can measure the inflammation with different blood tests, and that's another thing to look at before you see your doctor. If they're willing to work with you and say, well, doc, I want a CRP level, or I want a vitamin D level, which I recommend for everybody, or I want this and that, and they say, no, I can't do that. And you ask them why, and then find another doctor. And if they push any kind of vaccines down your throat, same thing, find another doctor. And you won't find that with a functional medicine person. Some chiropractors are real good at what they do, using different supplements. But most of the time what happens is they end up selling them. And it's just like veterinary medicine. You walk into a vet or you walk into a chiropractor, they have all these supplements for sale everywhere. And vets are the same way. They've been captured by institutions, right? So when you go to your vets now, you're going to be paying $500 for a visit, or $1,000, and God forbid the dog gets really sick. You're not going to be able to afford to fix it. But we have insurance in this country, and so when you have insurance, good old doctors will love to take advantage of that insurance. If you have really good insurance, they're going to see you more often. That's just the way it is. And so, statins are bad. Atorvastatin, any of those statins are bad. And I don't know what your cholesterol is. I believe it was like 220 or something,
Yeah, it was high. According to them, it was high. I don't know. So what should be a good level?
Well, that's just it. It's not the cholesterol you have to worry about. There's some genetic problems with cholesterol, where the cholesterol is like 500, or the triglycerides, which is part of that panel. And so what a triglyceride is, if you took blood and you put it in a test tube, you would see a layer of fat on top of it. That's your triglycerides. And that basically gums up your system. That's what that's doing. So if you can imagine a bunch of fatty oil going through your bloodstream, it gets caught up in all your organs, basically. And it's an indication of inflammation. So if you have a big belly and it's solid, like guys that say they have a beer belly, yeah, that's not a beer belly. That's an inflamed liver. It's called non-alcoholic steatorrheic hepatitis. You call it whatever you want to. It's called metabolic syndrome, that kind of stuff. But the fact is, it's not a leap of faith. You just have to, go on YouTube and listen to Dr. Berg. He'll tell you about it, or some of the other guys. They're good. These are good guys, and you can tell that they're not too full of poo, because they've been doing it for a while. They've done their research, that kind of thing. But I would not ever stay on a statin. That's gonna that's going to cause problems in the long haul. So I mean,
So like
this is
somebody
it.
like
I mean,
me,
yeah, I mean, this and magnesium. This is magnesium threonate. This is one that everybody should be on too. And basically, this is Dr. Mercola's stuff. But I mean, that's good for your vessels. You have blood pressure problems. It's nitric oxide. I mean, I wouldn't tell you I would. I'm not selling stuff. This is the stuff I use because I can find it. But nitric oxide is the key for blood pressure, right? So it's released by the cells that line the blood vessels, and it expands the blood vessels. It keeps them soft, right? And so somebody has that arterial sclerosis. Their body has been they've been smoking. The smoke dilutes into the blood, and it causes oxidant damage to the vessel walls, and then pretty soon your body can't make nitric oxide. You can't get an erection anymore. I mean, there's a lot of problems with our diets these days. But in a pinch, I swear, if you just could fast for, I don't know, fast for a week and then go into eating one meal a day, maybe from eating for a 4-hour period between, say, 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 8 o'clock at night. And I don't mean Pringles and stuff like that. I mean whole foods, right? What is a whole food? It's like, eat a whole food. Eat tomatoes, steak, chicken, eggs, which are just amazing. If you don't have time, yes. Yeah, I'm sorry.
so when you came on, as soon as you came on, I bit into a sweet potato chip, thinking to myself, well, these are healthy. They're sweet potatoes. They're not white potatoes. But then what did you say to me? You said, read the ingredients. And so I read you the ingredients. Now, there's not that many ingredients. It's sweet potatoes, canola oil and or safflower oil and or sunflower oil, and sea salt. So you told me specifically to stay away from the seed oils. So can you explain to everybody why to stay off of the seed oils? This way it'll help me too.
Sure. But what's the carbohydrates in that?
The carbohydrates in this is 6%. Total carbohydrates, 6%. And
So what's the
sugars
calories?
is 150 calories per serving.
And how many servings in a bag? Should be on the top.
7 servings per container.
Okay, well, it's not terrible. I mean, about 900 calories. But yeah, so a seed oil is like, they have to process it, right? And process is an interesting word. It means either you kind of heat it, you have to, separate it out, that kind of stuff. And when you beat the hell out of any molecule, it sends electrons everywhere. And those electrons need to be paired. And when they're not paired, they cause damage to cells. So when you go to a refinery, an oil refinery, they process crude oil. Those oils right there are processed in the same manner as crude oil, right? To get them to a certain point. So your question is, if I was going to eat something like that, I wouldn't want a processed oil, okay? So you would go with a pressed oil. You press an oil, that's a process, but it's not destroying the molecule to the point where all these electrons are everywhere. And so you got coconut oil, tallow, T-A-L-O, that's just beef, right? Bacon oil, right? That kind of stuff. Those are oils that tolerate heat very, very well. So it doesn't disperse a bunch of, unpaired electrons that are going to destroy tissue. So, and it's kind of hard because some oils are worse than others. But the worst things that happened when I was a kid was they came out with corn syrup. That's one thing you got to stay away for everything. Corn syrup is what causes your liver to fail. It causes your liver to fail and contributes to stuff like gout. So corn oil is a bad one. Do you remember that fake? I don't know if you remember that. Instead of butter, by the way, and butter is also a good, and everybody likes butter, so have butter, guys. But the point is that they came along with oleo and all these other things like Crisco oil. I mean, this is the worst thing that could have happened to us. And so the 70s came around, and the next thing you know, half the population has pre-diabetes or diabetes. And right now, I mean, when you see it in little kids, I mean, it's a disaster. But just look what they eat all day. Okay, so I mean, so whole foods are, you know, like I was telling you before, if you're reading you're reading the ingredients and you can't read it because it's got all these chemicals in it, stay away from it. If you can't read it, don't eat it. But you should stop your statin. I mean, the one thing you should definitely be on is the fish oil. You can do like 4 grams a day, 2 in the morning, 2 at night. You get the good stuff. I mean, that'll help lower your lipid profile. But more importantly, it soothes your brain, it soothes your liver. That's kind of the way to look at it. Protects the gut of the wall of your gut, and that's the other thing. I mean, we can get into the what's true about your immune system and your gut and leaky gut and all that other stuff. But that's the stuff you learn with your functional medicine doctor.
So I think I told you, because you're talking a lot about butter and bacon oil and all that kind of stuff. I switched about a month ago. I started doing kind of like a cross between either keto or paleo. It's probably closer to paleo. And it's been about a month. So, but everybody's always talking about all the cholesterol, the fat content, and all this. So, what would you say to people who, like me, who is doing either keto or paleo, which is a high-fat, low-carb diet, right? What would you say to somebody like me about warning us about the fat content of the food that we're eating?
Oh God, no! Don't worry about fat. Robert Kennedy, just completely turned the food pyramid upside down. Did you know that?
I heard something that he was redoing it, but I didn't know if it has been redone yet or not.
Down. Yeah, turned it upside down. So, refined carbs is last on the thing. And unfortunately, it means like getting up in the morning and not having cereal. It's very convenient. It's horrible for your kids. It's horrible for anybody. People used to say, don't have bacon and eggs. No, it's just a lie. And remember where the food pyramid originated from. It was some skunky little politician who worked for a politician. I think it was McGovern. He just came up with it. He wasn't a nutritionist. He wasn't any science background. What he was backing the agricultural industry. So he was pushing things like, believe it or not, like orange juice. Orange juice is nothing but sugar, folks. You might as well drink Coca-Cola, okay? It's different from an orange, right? It has, once you eat orange, the glycemic index isn't as bad as orange juice. So the glycemic index is how much your sugar will spike and how much your insulin will spike. So when you go to your doctor and you have pre-diabetes or diabetes, ask them, well, can we do an insulin level at the same time and do a sugar level when I'm fasting? And that'll tell you what shape you're in terms of how your body is making insulin. So, for instance, we'll say the body makes 30 units of insulin a day. I'm just throwing that out there. When you're healthy. Well, then you start eating all this junk food for 10 years, and the next thing your body needs to make 50 units just to keep the sugar level, which is about a teaspoon in your blood at a time. Just keep that in mind. It's only a teaspoon in your blood at the time, sugar, right? And so your body finally gets to a point where it can't keep up, and then it breaks down, and the next thing you know, you're on insulin. So when you take too much insulin, what does that do? It deposits fat into your liver. It causes inflammation. It deposits fat. So it's the fat deposition hormone, insulin is. But it's also very expensive, and they convince you need to be on it. You're spending a ton of money, and that's not type 1 diabetics. They need insulin because their body doesn't make it. We're talking type 2 diabetes. The other thing is, keep in mind, we also have a type 3 diabetes, which we call Alzheimer's. Yeah. Your brain is a very sensitive organ. It needs its cholesterol and it needs its fat. And if you want to decrease the inflammation in your brain and get very, very lucid and have all the energy in the world, go on a keto diet or go on a fast for a period of time. I promise you, it'll be a life changer. I mean, you just need to find a coach.
So if I can,
Somebody. Yes, sir. If you
well,
can.
that's why I'm glad I met you. But I'm going to try to morph these questions. Okay.
Definitely, you go to 4
Because I'm
grams a
taking the
day.
fish oil. I started taking the fish oil. I
Right.
take the fish oil, but it's not the one that you mentioned. It's the one that you get at Walmart,
Oh, yeah.
Nature's
Oh,
Valley, or
yeah. See, the problem with that is it's probably farmed, gets it from farm fish, and so it has a lot of heavy metals in it, like mercury. So, and that's
okay. Well, that's
what
was going to be
happens.
one of my questions.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure you know about this too, but one of my questions is about the chemtrails. And they're spraying all this garbage into the atmosphere to manipulate the weather. And a lot of that is heavy metals, right? So what can we use to detox from our poor diet and from stuff like that?
Well, you can't live in fear, right? We get plastics in all our water and all this other happy stuff. And I think the biggest indicator of all these poisons in our population is if you just follow our fertility. Our testosterone levels are, I think they're about a fourth of what they used to be in 1930, right, at the same age. So a person who's, 25 years old right now has a testosterone level of a person who's 70 years old, 50 years ago. I mean, they're very, very intense. So, I mean, if you look at the Georgia Guidestones and decreasing the population, they're doing a pretty damn good job of it. And like I said on coaches, I mean, just look at the population index in the United States. I mean, getting to the point of where we're in a negative, we're in a downfall. So we're actually losing, we're not keeping up. Of course, the migrants are coming in and filling in the holes, but they eat better than we do. And they have plenty of kids. You know what I mean?
Is there any way to detox from any of that?
Oh, goodness. Some people will say diatomaceous earth, okay? Some people will use, and diatomaceous earth is what it is. It's diatoms, and it's a good way to cleanse your gut. Zeolite, which is clay, basically. That's a way to do it. There's a good website that has a lot of good detox information on it. And, I used to concentrate a lot of that in my office, but people can't afford all that stuff. It's hard to use. It complicates things unless you spend a lot of time on your health. But you can go to what used to be the FLCCC.com, and that'll take you to the news site. They changed the name after COVID, but it has a lot of ways to detox. And I mean, there's a lot of ways you can do it. Let me kind of show you a couple of them. This is methylene blue. You can buy most of this stuff on Amazon, right? This is a methylation tool, and it's good for a ton of things, and detox is one of its better things. The problem is you got to know how to use it. And this is the stuff we use in medicine, but we use it IV. This is the oral stuff you get on Amazon. There's another one right here, is DMSO, dimethyl sulfur oxide. We use it in animals. We use it in some medications for us, but you don't hear a lot about it because there's not a lot of money to be made on it. But that is one of the most powerful solvents you can ever imagine. Whatever you dissolve in that and put on your skin, your body's going to absorb it. People drink it, okay? Believe me, I've tested all this stuff out. I mean, I used to weigh 295 pounds, okay? And yeah, I was a gear guy, right? So I used to bench a lot of weight, and I did a lot of steroids back then. But I was unhealthy, right? Drank a lot of beer, that kind of stuff. But you can find that. I wish I could tell you the name of the website. But if you go to FLCCC.com, there's a whole, and you'll find my name on there, but there's a whole lot of doctors that put their inputs on how to detox people. And to be honest with you, people go to the extremes of getting like a dialysis thing to clean their body out. For instance, my lead levels are through the roof after I got shot by that shotgun. They're still up there. And I could go and I could get this expensive chelation where they kind of filter out your blood and pull that stuff out of there. But I'm not going to live in fear. I'll do other things to detox. A lot of people talk about, what do we do about parasites? I think it's a great idea to take an anti-parasitic, particularly around the full moon for 3 days in a row. Fembendazole, you can get this on Amazon. That's fembendazole. You can find ivermectin. Now you can get that online without a prescription, right? And I think this is a great. And I promise you this: when COVID hit, I started using different kinds of pharmacies, right? So I didn't go to CVS or Walmart or any of those places. So I went to these pharmacies that create their own medications, right? You can get peptides and other stuff. And at the time, I couldn't get any of the compounding pharmacies, what they're called, to go along with me because they were afraid of the COVID police, right? But I finally found one out of Pennsylvania, right? And they were able to put them in the little capsules, ivermectin, based on your weight. And by the way, we use it for cancer too. This is an ideal drug for a lot of cancers, as is Laetrile, vitamin B12. This is the enzymes for it. These are all, you can find this all online. You basically can stay the hell away from a doctor unless you break a bone or that kind of stuff. And I kind of tell people you need to take care of yourself. Learn how to figure these things out yourself. But the easiest way to do that is find a good functional medicine doctor that doesn't put cash in front of your health. And there's a lot of them that do that. So got to be careful. But yeah.
Every time I go to the doctor, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Every time I go to the doctor, he's always telling me, oh, you got to get your shingles shot, and I never get it. Ever since COVID, I don't want to take any shots because ever since they put out that MNRA poison, I don't want it any of it. And how do I know, like, what's that?
For And I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't go with any vaccines, and that goes for your dog too, your animals. But what do? You got kids going to school, they're going to force them to get those damn shots, right? And of course, they guilt you into saying, well, if your son doesn't get it, and then they get measles and they give it to my son, blah, blah, blah. But if your son is vaccinated, why would you worry about my son getting, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because it's all a scam.
Right.
It's
right.
all BS. And you remember COVID, 6 feet apart. You go to church, you're 6 foot away, and everybody's got this gel in their hands, and they're staying apart and wearing masks. It was insane. I mean, I had the FBI and Homeland Security in my office giving me a hard time, and I told them to take their masks off when they got through the door. This is my office. I mean, those guys knew what they were doing. They knew it was BS. But you know what? People like to follow orders from authority. Anthony Fauci, yeah, this is a guy that was an authority, and I don't think he's ever seen a patient in his life. But he likes to torture puppies and babies, and this is a guy that needs to go down hard, and hopefully he does.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully he does. But yeah.
Yeah, I read some article that he.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry about that. I read some article that he put some dog's head in like a glass box and put Egyptian sand beetles in there or something to see. And by the way, took the vocal cords out of the dog so they couldn't scream while they're eating it. And I'm like, who the hell would do that? That's evil.
Yeah. I mean, you have to wonder sometime. But the population of narcissism and sociopaths has grown dramatically over the last 20 years. In other words, there are far more than just the 3% that we used to have. I mean, you're getting closer to 10%. I mean, these are people that are destroying. And they're, if they have any kind of intellect, they're the CEOs, right? They're the police in charge, or the hospital administrators, or so forth. I mean, it is. I mean, if you're working as a police officer, and you're in a group of police that cover their butts before they do their jobs, protecting the public, that you can't just sit there and watch the cops kick the crap out of Rodney King and not do something, right? You just can't. But that's how it is in medicine. And people don't realize when you're behind closed doors in medicine, they literally get away with murder. They literally get away with doing things that are unfathomable. And they keep it on the down low. You never hear about half of the stuff that goes on in there. This is a supplement I like. I don't know if the now is a good one, but it's just called berberine. It's what we use for sugar. It actually helps with the metabolic system called mTOR, berberine, and it's like metformin, which is a medication. But between this and metformin, which is a decent medication, I mean, these are longevity medications, right? They're not just to keep your sugars down and regulated, but they also are anti-aging, right? Which means that they have some benefit in controlling the flow of electrons in the electron transport chain, or the mitochondria. So, I mean, it's very simple things. It seems kind of complicated, but once you're used to it, you're just going to be far better off. I mean, but like the biggest trend right now is Ozempic. You've heard of that one?
Yeah.
And basically, it's a poison from a Gila monster, and it helps people lose weight. You could lose weight on it, right? But you won't live long because it destroys your muscle. And the muscle is where all your energy and your mitochondria is, that and your liver, right? That's where all the energy is. So as you get older, the reason why you don't have any energy and is because you don't have any muscle. And without that, I mean, it destroys your bones and everything else. It's called sarcopenia. So you got to maintain some activity level, especially given the AI and being behind computers. You got to force yourself to get off the chair, because at this point, it used to be cigarettes, but the new cigarettes, the new smoking is sitting. It's sitting. So just keep that.
I was going to ask you, because my job,
Yeah.
my job now, I sit down for all day. Now I'm inside like a little, I call it the guard shack, but it's basically a little room, a little bit bigger than the average size bathroom. And I just sit there and I hit a button to open up the gate, or hit a button to close the gate. And I get no exercise whatsoever in there. And I've noticed that since I've been doing, it's been about a year that my job duties has switched to doing that. But I've noticed that since I started doing that, my energy levels are down. My legs hurt for some reason. I think I know what the reason is for sitting down. And so what does somebody like me do to who's trying to get their health in order? Now I watched a video the other day, like a person who has a similar job from what I do, and they'll do squats inside there, and they'll do Tai Chi or something like that. Well, which I'm allowed to do that at work if I can do it in a way where it doesn't cause me to not do my job.
Well,
But
honest with you, as a doc, it's mostly typing now, right? Once they put computerized records, I mean, you spend more time typing on that damn computer than you attending to the patient. Like, there's hardly any examining a patient anymore. I mean, you don't even listen to their hearts, and the ones that do don't know what they're listening to. I mean, these are the skills I learned a long time ago when I started in the military. And they were necessary skills, but the problem is you're absolutely correct. Standing is a good idea. You can get a desktop that lifts up, and you can stand and do your stuff, and you'll feel a lot better and move. And just keep in mind, if you're sitting there a lot, like you're on an airplane, they tell you to keep moving your legs and stuff like that, because then you get a blood clot, and that finds its way into your lungs, and then you get a pulmonary embolism, and that's a good way to die, right? I mean, it's not uncommon to get blood clots from just sitting too long, and you just got to keep things flowing. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but for me, I'm 64, and when I get done tonight, I'm getting on my row machine, right? My hardcore row machine, and it's one of those row machines you just can't break. I mean, I don't care how strong you are. And I'll pump on that thing for 45 minutes to an hour, and I'll keep competing with myself. And, I'm in a lot of pain, but when I get done that, I feel good, and I feel good for the next day. But start by walking, just walking for a couple miles, and then find some exercise you can do. I mean, get a dog, right? Get a dog and go walking in the woods with a guy, I mean, I have a propensity to love animals for whatever reason, but do you have a dog?
yeah, he's a little ankle biter, and he's getting up there in his age, so he's not really. He likes to bite people he doesn't know, so I can't take him out a whole lot. But he's only about this big anyway,
Little
But
chihuahua or what?
he's a cross between a Jack Russell and a Chihuahua.
Okay,
And a
so
dachshund.
he's a terrier.
Sorry, and
Okay, all right. Yeah, they can be small.
yeah,
but he's loyal.
oh, he's
right?
old, but he's wiry. He's what?
Yeah, and he's loyal. He loves you guys, right?
Oh,
I mean,
very.
That's kind of.
Very.
I mean, that's how I'm going to spend my weekend coming up. Is we're having a litter of golden retriever puppies, and it's kind of nerve wracking because it's bringing life into the world, as nerve wracking as it is. But I mean, do something for your, for joy, I mean, if people don't realize.
I would love to get a
treatment
puppy.
You should. You should get one that has a little bit more energy than you. Whether maybe.
Well, that's not hard.
Well, you'd be surprised. I mean, I had an English bulldog in my office for a long time named Brewski, and everybody loved him. He was a sweetheart. But I've always had dogs. And, they do. People who have dogs have lower blood pressures. They live longer, that kind of stuff. But yeah. I mean, so you're on a statin. What other meds are you on?
I'm on a whole list of meds. I'm on, I don't know if I want to say them all on the camera, but yeah, I'm on flecainide.
Oh, that's right. AFib. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because I had AFib about a year and a half ago. So I'm on a blood thinner. I'm on metoprolol, flecainide, and the statin. And then I have a thyroid replacement because they took my thyroid out. So you remember the conversation I had with you?
Yeah.
So right now, once I find that functional medicine.
Yeah, and look for that, and I guarantee you, and don't be afraid to get that nurse practitioner. A lot of people are really good at what they do because they just don't fall for the dogma. And so it could be just a nurse practitioner is a functional medicine person, or a doctor. But most of the time, doctors are, they got a lot of money to pay off, and they got to work within a system and make a ton of money. And I'm very fortunate that I never bought into that. I just couldn't. I mean, I tried it for a little while, collecting insurance and everything else, but I realized very quickly how you get caught up in that system. You get captured by the institution, the powers and the principalities. It's very true. It's extremely true. But yeah, I remember your situation. And just remember, I've had patients in yet, some of them, but you have to be able to trust somebody. And that medication that you're on for flecainide, it's an antiarrhythmic, but it's also a proarrhythmic and causes arrhythmias, right? So that's the nature of all medications, right? The side effects are oftentimes far worse than the medication itself. And, as far as, anticoagulants and so forth, serrapeptase, enzymes, that kind of stuff. That's the stuff you see on flccc.com, flccc.com. That's the old one. I don't know exactly. I think it's called like United Health or something. But it's all doctors that don't buy into the dogma of medicine. So, yeah, you're only 54. You'll be fine. You're just going to have to, it's not really a leap of faith. It's just you're going to have to do a little and get somebody that you can talk to honestly who's been doing this for a long time. I guarantee you can find one at least.
Well, I got some of the information from the people that you sent me.
Yeah, I'd give them a call.
So,
and they're going to be afraid because they probably aren't familiar with some of the cardiac meds, right? They're afraid to take people off of those. And then your primary care and your cardiologist will have nothing to do with you once you say, I don't want these anymore. They will abandon you quicker than hell. Just like if you didn't get a coach.
Well, they put right here, where is it? Right?
Yep, a monitor.
There it is, right here. It's about this big. And after my insurance, it's like $30,000 after the insurance. And all it does is record my heart rate. And he's like, oh, you should get it, blah, blah. But they never told me that after my insurance paid for it, it was going to be, it's a racket. It's a complete racket. Like, what is recording it doing for me? So they told me if I have an arrhythmia, take the app out, press the button, they'll record it for 30 seconds or something like that. And then if there's anything to worry about it, they get back to you. So I tested it out 5 or 6 times already, and nobody's ever gotten back to me.
Really? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. And you know what you can
At
actually
all.
find? You can actually find something on, I have an app here, and you can go to Amazon and get that exact thing, or not that exact thing, but maybe for $100, and it monitors your heart rhythm with your fingers. It's like a little tab, and you put your 2 fingers on it, and it'll record if you're in atrial fib or you got a slow heart rate, that kind of stuff. But the point is,
you know how I knew I was in AFib?
I don't know.
You know how I found out? I'm sitting on the couch and my Apple Watch alarm went off and said, "You're in AFib. Go to the hospital."
Well, then keep that damn Apple Watch on. I mean, they talked you into doing this, right? I mean, it's sick. I mean, you know, we want to comply because we want to trust them. But they've proven that they're not trustworthy. When COVID came around, they all bought into it, you know, and if they got enough of these COVID shots and boosters, they got some brain damage going on there. I mean, literally got some brain damage going on too. And I'm just saying.
Well,
but yeah,
not for nothing.
Yeah, it's called. Yes, sir.
I was just going to say, I'm not a doctor. I have no medical training. And I know that standing 6 feet apart from somebody isn't stopping anything. I know that putting my mask on in between every bite isn't going to do anything. I know that hanging a piece of plexiglass from a piece of string, but there's nothing below it and on the sides of it and on top of it isn't going to stop it. Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that they were making a crap up as they went along. And Dr. Fauci's emails pretty much proved it, because on his emails he admits that he knew none of it was going to work, but they did it anyway.
You know, when I worked in surgery when I was in the military, you know, for trauma and stuff. And those masks that you wear, it says right on the box, does not prevent transmission of disease. Says it on the box. And then all these Karens and everybody else wearing double masks and, you know, friggin' G suits and every other damn thing they were wearing. You know, it's all based on fear. And but you know, you can pretty much guarantee if they put doctors and all these authority on a pedestal. There's an old expression: if you don't believe in God, you'll believe in anything, and that's absolutely true. But I would so quickly get off that damn stat. And by the way, I've taken people off those very meds you're on before, and they're doing fine. In fact, you know one of them. We talk to him every day on Coach Dave, right?
Yep.
He has.
I know. You don't have to say it. I know.
No longer on any of that stuff, but you just have to kind of go with it, right? I mean, there's only limited reasons to stay on these kind of medicines. If you haven't had an event in a long time, it's time you get off of those. And you can stay on the toprolol, right? That keeps your heart rate down. It's not ideal, but it's not bad, you know, not compared to those other medications. And thank God you're not on any antidepressants or any other that hokey crap, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm not on any of that.
You know, and I'm certainly far from perfect. I was on 8 different medications, psych meds, after I was in the military. I had a pretty rough time there. And I, at one point, I just stopped them cold turkey, because I realized, and I wasn't a doctor at the time, but I realized how dangerous they were. And you do a little research and you realize it's all a scam. I mean, psychiatry, for instance. These are made-up diseases. See, all diseases are the way we look at diseases are we look at the cell and see if there's damage. Okay, it's called histopathology. So that's how we determine disease. Well, you can't do that in the brain. right? There's no such thing as mental illness. There may be a brain illness like Alzheimer's or that kind of stuff, but there's no such thing. So you got these fake doctors, right, called psychiatrists, coming up with a fake psychiatric illness, giving you medications that they have absolutely no idea about. You know, I mean, and it's just the way it works. I mean, there's no deficit of Zoloft in your head, right? But if you were to go on a perfectly keto diet, half the time that brain fog leaves, your moods improve. Force yourself to exercise a bit, especially at your age. You want to keep that muscle up, but yeah. And it just, there's some supplements that we have to take nowadays because we just don't have it. Magnesium is one, right? Magnesium threonate. I think fish oil is a great idea. I think berberine is a must for everybody because our diets suck. But you know, it's like I said. I mean, it's a learning curve, and a lot of people are going to have to learn the hard way. Because who wants to be sick?
I don't want to be the one.
Yeah, you don't want to be 90 years old.
I'm tired of having a big, hard gut.
Oh, if you have one, that's what I was telling you about. That's what's going on, and you can get rid of that. I promise you. Within a month, I bet you could get rid of that doing a kind of a strict keto style diet. Right, I promise you'll feel $1 million better. And there's only very few issues where you got to be careful with that kind of a diet. That's why you kind of need a doc. One of them is actual liver failure, for one instance. But you know, the number one cause of liver disease and liver failure isn't alcohol. It's fructose corn syrup. It's sugar. It's processed oils, right? Highly processed foods, because that's all toxins. Those are all beating up your liver, and your gut will go away. You'll feel like $1 million. You're married. You have kids.
So should I call this? Should I call this interview with Dr. Paul Gosselin "Screw Big Pharma"?
You could call it whatever you want to. Just remember, I mean, this isn't medical advice. This is health advice. And I have every right to give you health advice. I mean, I've been there. I've done that. You know, I've made mistakes myself. And some pretty whoppers. Pretty whoppers, right? I did some damage to survive out there. But the reality is I've been very, very lucky, very grateful that God hasn't, completely taken my head off with that 12 gauge. It's just luck. Because he was aiming at my head, buddy. I guarantee you. And I hadn't moved. If I hadn't moved, I'd be gone today.
But, the Lord is way more gracious to us than we deserve. He really is.
I humbly accept that. Absolutely. But it's a lot more fun for me nowadays because at least the world is starting to see what I've known for the betrayals for a very, very long time. Ever since I got out in the military, even before that. I mean, imagine, you're in a Catholic church and a priest is doing that, and you're and they're pushing to kill babies. And I'm a Christian. I'm not one of these lukewarm Christians. Murder is murder. Killing a baby? Come on, guys.
Yep.
The numbers are astounding. I don't think we're coming out of this until God has another flood or something.
Yeah, well, I keep telling everybody, all these people that are talking about how, not to get theological, but all these people are like, oh, those who bless Israel will be blessed. Well, how's that working out? We've been killing 1 million babies a year since 1971. How are we blessed? We become more depraved the longer we exist as a nation. We become the health of our country is gone down the tubes. The prosperity of our country is fictional because it can come crashing down at any minute. So who's really blessed? To me, we will be blessed by becoming more like the one who saved us, by serving one another and praying and holding hands and tearing down the strongholds that the devil tries to stick up in our lives. That's being, that's receiving the true blessings of God, is having that spiritual born again awakening where you realize that you need a savior. All this other stuff that we have in this country, yeah, it's nice to have a $1,000 cell phone. It's nice to have an office with a computer, and it's nice to have a place to live. But we have so much in the line of comfort, it makes us lazy.
Yeah, they're all distractions. And every single person should get up early enough where they can just spend an hour listening to God. Whether you're praying or just listening. Just turn off everything and just listen. I mean, C.S. Lewis is one of the great apologetics for the Christian faith. And he talks about it in Screw Tape and stuff. It's good to listen to him talk about, remaining humble, eliminating the distraction, because it's not the big sins that we do, because we'll all kind of fall into that, living with somebody when you're not married, that kind of stuff. It's the complete distractions that we get to a point in our lives where God has long gone, and you just can't ask him to come back in your life like that, unless something bad happens and he gives you a miracle or whatever they call that these days.
Amen.
But I think we're in good shape.
Amen. So let's close in prayer. Father, I just thank you for Dr. Paul. I thank you for the advice that he's giving me and basically giving everybody who's going to come and watch this particular episode of the podcast, Father God. I thank you for giving him clarity and wisdom and sound judgment. And I just pray, Father God, that you would bring his court case to full fruition, Father God, and that the criminals in the law enforcement agency that basically tried to murder him, Father God, I pray for him to have victory in that court case. I pray for him to have complete and total victory in that court case, Father. I pray for his health. I pray for his finances. And again, Father, I just want to thank you for Dr. Paul. He's a blessing. And I ask all these things in the mighty and precious name of Jesus. And for everybody that's watching this, I just pray that you like the video, share the video, subscribe to my channel, and just try to be a blessing to the people around you. Try to love God, try to love his word more, and try to love your neighbor as yourself. And I'll see you, Lord willing, on the next Proverbs 18:13 podcast.
Thank you very much, Adam.
Pastor Adam would like to thank you for your support. Please like, subscribe, and follow us at the social media links in the description.